I'm sure a majority of people are going to hate this movie just because it's a sequel. You know, typically sequels don't always do well. We can't all be Shrek 2, right? And of course, this was just kind of like Gladiator 1 with extra steps and more drama. And who cares if maybe there's historical inaccuracies? Seriously though, who cares? We had bamboo fights, rhinos impaling people, sharks in the Coliseum. I mean, it was like crazy, bro. It was crazy. And on top of that, we got the wheat fields, baby. We're back. The gods have spoken. Let us, open up the beginning of this shindig, right? I'm your host, Juice. Let's get into Gladiator 2, or should I say Gladiator, because this man was a hater right here. This man was like a more vengeful Maximus, I believe. But so let me just preference by giving you this. I watched Gladiator last night. If you watched one of my shorts, you'll know that. Thank you for those who did. You appreciated. You're loved. Anyways, so I'll just give you the plot right here of Gladiator 2. The plot is Lucius, right? Lucius was the son of Lucilia. I'm looking at the cast right now because I can't remember all these freaking names. Lucia was the daughter of the Caesar, the original Caesar, Joker's sister, and they had that was a whole weird thing. But Lucius was the son, and he gets sent away. And now he got his own life, right? But he got sent away because, he was a threat because he was heir to the throne, right? And so now he's like living his life. His life gets taken away from him, which he's mad at Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian, because he killed his wife. So I get why he's upset. I get it. Right here, the beautiful person. I get it. I'd be mad too if they killed my wife, especially if you look like that. And don't get me wrong, there are parts of the movie predictable. I was like, yeah, his wife's gonna die. She has to die. It's like part of his plot-driven thing. But there were surprises along the way that got me. That I was like, huh. Because the whole movie, you're like, who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? You're trying to figure out that the whole movie. And the movie did give me a run for my money on that. So she gets killed. And now he's got his whole driven plot of, hey, I want my payback against the general, Pedro Pascal, right? That's basically the plot. Now let's get into the nitty gritty bones of it all. Because, man, like I said, if Gladiator 1... it was a pretty straightforward story, actually. Like when I think about Gladiator, there was not really like a lot of sets in the sense of like we had like the beginning part, the middle part, and the end, which is like the battlefield, the part where he's rising up to get to the Coliseum, and then the Coliseum. That's really it. That's like kind of like the three sets of the movie. It's a straightforward pass. You killed the Caesar. I want revenge because you also killed my family. And yeah, I'm gonna rise up to the depths of hell just to get back at you. This one, there's a lot of drama. And by golly, Miss Molly, do I love me some drama. I love me some cheese, let's get into it. I want to say this, when Lucius, his wife, dies, I think it was very cool that they had this whole like scene where she's getting on a boat, a raft of sorts, to enter the afterlife. It does give me like the whole like River Styx type vibe, since we are in like this ancient Rome type setting there, the Roman and like Greek gods type dealio there. So that was actually pretty dope. So our boy Lucius here, he gets captured by the Romans. He gets thrown into slavery pretty much, and just like in Gladiator 1, he gets discovered by another dude who's buying gladiators for the fight, and that's when we get our boy Denzel here, which Denzel plays a bigger role than I thought he was going to, and I was very shocked where how it ends up there. We get all that. He proves himself. There's this cool baboon fight they have, which was like freaking terrifying. Like if I had to fight a baboon, I would like, I don't know what I would do. Like you saw how agile those little creatures are with their fangs. He out here, and we have Lucius, he out here biting baboons. Like he biting monkeys, the one of the largest monkeys to ever exist. As to if this is historically accurate, I don't know when baboons came into the existence of mankind, but who cares, right? It was epic. It was super epic. So after eating baboons and, proving himself, he's biding his time though. Like he hides his identity. Nobody knows that he is the true heir to the Roman Empire, right? Ancient Rome. One might say
it's not like home.
And it's also the birth of the
Coliseum.
Yeah. The Coliseum, baby. The place where many have gone to throw their lives down in exchange for freedom. And it is crazy to think about. There was a time period in history where people were like born in this poverty, slave-like states. I mean, they were actually literally slaves. And they had to fight their way to freedom, through blood and glory, just to make a better life for themselves. I can't believe that there was a time period where that existed. That would never happen today, right? Moving on. Through the ranks, he rises up. And although I feel Gladiator 1 kind of it's more about the fight. But I feel this movie was more about like a little bit more about the politics of Rome, just a little bit. There was a little bit more like Skneeving, Denzel Washington kind of in the background, like Emperor Palpatine, like I'm pulling the real strings here. One of my favorite scenes. I forgot like what part of the movie is, but Denzel Washington and I guess like one of his like buddies, they're sitting there just sipping wine. He's like one of them sitting on the couch and they're just cracking jokes, like spilling hot goss. And I thought that was really funny. I was like, man, I could imagine the politics in ancient Rome at the time. Just like you hear so and so, like, he's like, I heard he favors not women. And then Denzel's like, I don't either some days. Something like that. It was really, really funny. But he, anyways, back to the main story at hand. Lucius, homeboy here, like I said, he's rising to the ranks. He's proven himself worthy. They fight a rhino, which was really dope. I heard that the rhino was historically inaccurate, but it was cool. A man gets impaled and thrown across screen. Also, by the way, this movie way bloodier than the first Gladiator. I mean, Lucius here, he like Anakin Skywalker's Count Dooku's a guy. That was like, bro, that was metal. That was metal as f***. Like, bro, one-way ticket to midnight at heavy metal right there. But anyways, so kind of, this in the beginning, but Rome is now ruled by two twin emperors, played by my boy Fred here and, Eddie from Stranger Things. Yo, let's go, Stranger Things, yeah. New Johnny Storm, new Human Torch, let's go. Aboard Eddie here, Joseph Quinn, who, I didn't know this. I was doing some research. I actually never bothered once really looking at how historically accurate Gladiator was, first and second one. I actually do remember watching the first Gladiator in school, although not all of it, because, it is rated R, right? When you watch parts of it. But yeah, these two were actually based off real people, apparently. So, you could fact check me on that, I guess, but like, to some degree, there were like two ruling emperors who eventually, it didn't end well for them, I guess. I guess that was like hundreds of years ago. So, eventually we all turned to dust, right? So, with that said, I do want to say, though, as far as our twin emperors here, I thought their acting was great. I thought a lot of the acting in the movie was great. Pedro Pascal, oh, man. First of all, I love Pedro Pascal. I do. I mean, he's such in great movies, He was in that Nicolas Cage movie. Actually, I know Pedro Pascal from more shows, actually, than I do movies, like Game of Thrones and Mandalorian. But, he's a chill dude. I appreciate him. And Joseph Quinn, and also Fred here. I thought they did great as the emperors. Like, Joseph, in a way, like, I didn't hate him. In the first Gladiator movie, I hated Joaquin Phoenix's Caesar, but not like hate him as like I think he did bad. Hate him in a good way. Like, he did play a really good role, right? But Joseph Quinn's, like, I hated him, but also like I kind of liked how chaotic, like the twin emperors had an interesting dynamic. They were both crazy, but one of them was crazier than the other. So it was like the other person's job to kind of like channel the other person's chaos. Like, Eddie here, he was the one who like, I'm going to channel more of my twins, like younger, I believe he might have been the younger twin, just judging by the dynamics, more of his chaos. And I don't know, I love the dynamic of these twin emperors. But with that said, so eventually you learn that Lucia here, she is now married to Pedro Pascal, to the Mandalorian, to Marcus, I think his actual name in the thing, which at that point I'm like, Lucia, my lady, you have a type. I could tell you have a type, and I respect it. Game recognizes game. So that's when we get even more drama with that, because so let me try to break this down right here. Actually, this is gonna be a little complicated. So you also learn that Lucius's real father was Maximus, Russell Crowe from the first movie. That's another thing you learn, which I'm like, whew, this plot thickens even more. Like, Jesus Christ. Or who's the Roman gods at the time? I don't remember. Who cares? It's not Zeus. Jupiter, yeah, praise Jupiter or whatever. Jesus, holy Jupiter or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, Lucius' real father is Maximus, which, like, I could see that being a plot point. I mean, I'm sure Ridley Scott back in the day was like, if I ever make Gladiator 2, I need an in, because in the first one, it's like we knew that Russell Crowe and Lucia was like, they had something going on there at some point, right? Before he met his wife, he was like, yeah, we had a thing back in the day, so. Although, as far as more of the family tree, I don't think we really get specifications of where the twin emperors come from. I guess that's open to interpretation. I could probably go down some rabbit Reddit holes, but I'm not going to. Or maybe it actually said in the movie and I just wasn't paying attention. I was too busy watching sharks in the dang Coliseum. Let me get that. Okay. After some cool fights, with rhinos and stuff, this is where the money went to. Okay. So there's a fight scene, like as Lucius is rising through the ranks of the Gladiator fight. They have a scene where they're reenacting a boat battle, which I don't know if the Coliseum could hold water. Apparently it could. That's what I heard. I was talking to someone about it, and apparently the Coliseum was in a lake. I don't know. You can go do that math yourself. I'm probably gonna look it up as I'm editing this video, and maybe I'll put a picture here, right? But they flooded the thing, and they're fighting in the Coliseum on these boats. It's a pretty epic scene though. So this is the part where like, look, regardless if you loved or hate this movie, this was freaking awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, they're fighting. It was bizarre. It was banger. It was ridiculous in such the almost coolest way ever. Like, oh my gosh. And they had like great white sharks in the Coliseum swimming around to catch anybody who fell in. You know, who thinks of that? Like, you like, okay, Ridley Scott was like, okay, Gladiator 2 was a more narrow story. How are we really gonna make this pop off? Yo, and I bet he like hit that blunt and was like, yo, what if come on now. Come on, write this down. Jessica, you writing this down? What if? Hear me out. What if we had them riding on boats, right? In the Coliseum. Like, ooh. We flood it, right? And then like we set the boat on fire. And then like one boat rams in there. And not only that, we pick right by sharks. Everyone in the conference room. Ridley, man. I mean, it was insane. It was insane, man. Like, can you believe that? They had freaking sharks in there. I don't even understand how you would get sharks in there. Like, I don't know where Rome is in comparison to how close it is to the nearest body of water. I just can't. How do you transfer? I don't understand how they did that. Like, did they put it on a boat somehow and like drove it through a canal? Did they channel the sharks through a canal? Did they have like a giant like an 18-wheeler Trojan horse filled with water? I just can't fathom. And what happened to the sharks afterwards? Did they eat them? But it was awesome. Don't get me wrong. It was one of the coolest things I've seen in a movie happen. They didn't use real sharks, but like, well, did they? I don't know. But like, yeah, I saw like a shark fin and like, they got freaking sharks. And it made me wonder, and this actually did kind of happen, or it actually did happen. It made me wonder, like, out of all this crazy stuff that's happening in the Coliseum, they're shooting arrows at people, splinters are flying from the boats. Were there casualties? Some people had to have died if they're on the front row seats, right? I mean, because during this fight, you know, they're fighting and like, you know, Lucius commands them to ram the boat into like the enemy ship. And at that point, Lucius picks up a crossbow and he's about to shoot the general, and then he gets tackled and it like misses, right? And it almost kills one of the emperors. Something like that has had to happen. Later in the movie, something like that does kind of happen, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'm sure like a splinter flew out and hit somebody in the eye, you know, or like, were there souvenirs, you know, like like somebody's helmet flies up in the air, you catch it. I can only imagine. Like I said, this was the old day, you know, Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Nothing's changed, world. Nothing has changed. But with that said, there's this plot to overthrow the emperors. I mean, it's similar to Gladiator 1. They're trying to overthrow the emperor. The general's like, my army's loyal to me. You know, I'm Pedro Pascal. You know, and so they're gonna follow me. And you know, like just in Gladiator 1, the coup gets done, which is like crazy because like Lucia, like she goes visit her son, and you know he's like mad at her. He's like mad. I mean, like because he's like, you're sleeping with the guy who like killed my wife, basically, which is like crazy, right? Which we'll explain the whole plot line in a minute, right? And then she goes to go tell Pedro Pascal, General, like, you know, like her current husband, like, you know, Lucius is still alive, and also we gotta go overthrow the emperors. And then at this point, like one of the maids, like in the corner, like, I'm gonna go tell, snitch. And so we get the Senate, which, you know, they brought back some of the old senators, which was interesting. They get done, they get caught, and so this is like I said, the two emperors, how they're both chaotic, but one of them helps channel the other. So at this point, General's like, look, you can torture me all you want, but like, screw you. I mean, no one's ever gonna love you, you know, like you're trash, you know, the people hate you, you know, you don't deserve to be king. But then, you know, our boy, Caracalla, I think that's his name of the emperor. It's like Emperor Geta and Caracalla. Cara, let's call him Cara. You know, Emperor Cara here. He's like, I'm gonna gut him right now. And then you know, Eddie's like, no, we can't do that now. We gotta make this public. You know, we gotta hang him somewhere else. You know, and that's when. So at this point, like Denzel Washington, he's been kind of like I said, Emperor Palpatine, like, you know, spreading little lies here and there, little secrets, you know. And he's like, look, why don't we do it in the Coliseum? You know, people love it. People eat it up. You know, this would be a cool story, right? You know, be great for the plot. You know, it's like, you know what? Yeah. So that's what they do. So at this point, it's like, okay, Pedro Pascal has to go fight Lucius in the Coliseum, prove himself. Well, first he fights like, you know, some guards, but that's brutal. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a crazy time. Could you imagine? Like, it just, that's a way to go, you know, because they fight. And then on top of that, Lucia has to watch this all chained up. But at this point, you're starting to see that like Denzel Washington, he's kind of like conniving, whatever the word is. He's way up to the top. And it's like, you know, I didn't know what role you were going to play in this movie. I didn't recognize your game until just now. I kind of see what you're doing here. You want to be on top, boy. And he's slowly getting there. Slowly getting there. So after Pedro Pascal, he's in the Coliseum. He's fighting off the guards, right? And at this point, like, there are guards surrounding the front row seats. And it's like, look, we almost had a casualty last time. We ain't gonna let that happen again, right? So with that said, that's when the things get crazy, right? Pedro Pascal, he fights off the guards, and then that's when Lucius comes in. He's like, I'm gonna beat you up. You killed my wife. I'm gonna fight you. And then they're fighting. But then at one point, they kind of have like a little, like, I guess, talk kind of in the Coliseum. Not really a talk, but that's when, like, Lucius slowly learns that, like, look, the general Pedro, he was just a victim as anybody else to the Roman Empire, right? He was just following orders, and like whatever happened, it was never personal. And that's what I loved about a lot of these characters. They were not necessarily one-dimensional. Sometimes I do like a one-dimensional character where, like, this man is just straight up evil, right? Or this man is just straight up good, or this woman is straight up whatever. I don't know. But sometimes I like that there was this conflict of interest, this drama of, like, look, the general was just following orders. Like, he dislikes the state of how things are going just as much as you do. And how can we work together to better this society we live in, right? So Lucius pretty much wins the battle, and the general gives up. He's like, I'm gonna surrender. So we get the whole thumbs up, thumbs down, and they're all like, yeah, we, like, the people are like, we want blood, and so you got it. Eddie's like, kill him. But at that point, Lucius is like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna spare him. And then that's when he's like, you know what? Just shoot the general. And then in a glorious way, Pedro dies. And it's like, that was a heroic, not heroic. That was a way to go. That was a way to just getting, and all these guards, just archers ready, and they shoot Pedro. And it's like, oh man, my mom was devastated. I know how middle-aged moms love Pedro Pascal. Devastated. I mean, it was heartbreaking. They made Lucia watch. It was absolutely wild. And then at this point, the people are like upset. They're like, what? Because, like, Lucius is like, this is how you treat your hero, this man who's helped conquer for Rome. How dare they? And so now the crowd's all like upset. Like, they're all like, why'd you do that? How could you? How could you portray us like that? The people So they flee, they get rid of it, and then it's like, okay, what can we do now? Like, the people are rioting, the people are upset. How can we get this our business in order? Eddie's all like, what can we do? What can we do? They're rioting in the city. The guards can only hold it for so long. So at that point, we got our Denzel Washington, Emperor Palpatine in the background, like, not from a Jedi. He's like, so like I said, both Geta and Kara's kind of like going, he's kind of a little more not there. Judging from what Geta says, maybe he has some kind of illness. All he said was the disease that plagues his loin reaches to his brain. So I don't know what that's all about. But regardless, that's when Denzel Washington is like, okay, let me take care of this. So he goes to the Kara and he's like, look, your brother, he's plotting against you. You gotta do something about him. Which apparently that's what happened in actual history. They turned on each other. And so, and this is in a bloody way. He goes up to Eddie, and he, like, just cuts off his finger, and I'm like, whoa, and then I'm gonna stab you in the throat, and Denzel helps him kill his brother. And now, like I said, like, okay, the people are upset that you killed the general. Now we gave something people to be angry, to be satisfied with. And then at that point, we get one of the most bizarre things ever happened. This crazy orange hair man starts appointing people in the Senate. He points a freaking monkey. I'm just like, are you serious? What kind of clown show is this? Like, there ain't no way a giant global empire would ever do that. There's no way. Like, that would never happen ever again in a million years. Anyways, at this point, Denzel Washington, he has, like, power now. He's all like, and he pulls out Eddie Munson's head, and he's like, look, you see this? Look at me. I'm the captain now. That's what he does. He's like, anyone come down to me? Because, like, apparently he's got pockets in the Senate. I mean, this guy over here, he's over like, I own you. You tell me what's going down. There ain't much I don't know about. So at this point, they're like, okay, we gotta do something about Lucia. The people love her. It's gonna be hard killing her, but we'll give her a chance. We're gonna put her in the Coliseum, and we're gonna let one gladiator protect her, and before we kill her. And at this point, Denzel just wants to see it all burned down. He's just trying to get rid of everybody so he can be on top, and he's slowly doing it. He's slowly knocking them all one by one. And that's when you realize Denzel Washington's kind of the villain of the movie, and you're like, wow. Did not expect that. It's really crazy how he just comes up. It's really weird. The man from Remember the Titans is just interesting seeing him in this role. But Denzel, is up there with power with our new solo emperor and this monkey here. This little kombucha, is it kombucha monkey? Kombucha, whatever. But they're sending Lucia to die in the Coliseum, and Lucia's is gonna fight for her, but not before he rallies all the other slaves to help him, and he manages to kill like his captors with a wooden sword, which is pretty awesome, right? And then he goes dons the Maximus gear after learning he's buried in the Coliseum. This medicine man helps him, who's a cool character. I like this guy. He's really dope. At this point he's like, look, go to the soldiers out in the field, tell them the Prince of Rome lives. Maximus is my father. They'll ride for me. We're gonna take Rome back to the people. We're long are the days of this corrupt, like disease-ridden city. We're taking it back for the people. Rah! Anyways, so they go into the fight for Lucius in that battlefield. It's like 30 against 1, and then the slaves come and help. Our Emperor Kara here is all like, "Yo, let's go. This is pretty dope." And then Denzel's like, "It's getting a little out of hand. I don't know about this." So they're fighting, and things just kind of get out of hand. And this is where like they start the royal guards they start opening fire on the civilians in the Coliseum. I'm just like, it's getting madhouse. But they're killing people, and Lucius is about to save his mother, but then the last second, Denzel comes without nobody noticing, kills the last emperor, and then he takes a bow and shoots Lucia. She's dead. Lucius is like, "Oh, it's on now. I'm taking you out." So that's when the royal guard and the army outside the city, they're slowly coming out together. Denzel Washington takes off and Lucius takes off after him. It's like, it's a madhouse. So I want to recap this story here now that we've gone this far. Okay, let me get this straight. Let's see if I can do this. Lucius' father is Maximus, Russell Crowe from the first movie, right? He gets sent away as a young child in fear that he will get killed because he is the heir to the throne and there's corrupt politics. He gets married and has a wife. She gets killed by Pedro Pascal, the new general, who is now married to Lucia. And so now he eventually meets his mother again, and he's mad at her because like, how could you marry this man who like killed my wife? But then the general's just following orders. But he also doesn't like what Rome's doing. So he tries to like overtake the emperors, but he gets caught. So they put him in the Coliseum to fight Lucius. And in this battle, Lucius realizes, oh, this is not what I wanted, But then the emperors kill the general because Lucius refuses to do so, but makes Lucia watch while she's like chained to a chair. And then on top of that, because it's still gonna make an example of Lucia, the emperor makes Lucius fight the royal guard to save Lucia. But on top of all that, Denzel Washington is like killing all these people in the background, and then eventually kills Lucius, his mother, Lucia. Did I get all that? The drama in this movie is insane. It's crazy. It's outlandish, and I love it. Mwah, chef's kiss. So with all that said, Lucius' mother is now dead. He's going after Denzel Washington, and they go outside the city. So now it's a standoff between like the royal guard and the armies of the Rome. It's like, okay, armies of Rome knows that the Prince of Rome is alive, Lucius, Maximus' son. We want to ride for him. The royal guard's like, well, I'm bound to like pretty much the only person left in power, who's Denzel Washington, who's slowly worked his way up to the Senate. And now it's like a standoff of like, what you gonna do, bro? What you gonna do? And so I didn't expect this happening, but Denzel and Lucius, they face off, and it's a pretty gruesome battle. Like, it's not long, right? But it was like it was interesting because dang, like just Denzel gets his hand chopped off, he gets his guts cut open. I mean, like I said, Lucius wins. It's like, of course the hero's gonna win in Gladiator, right? The hero will triumph, and so that's what basically happens. And then at that point, Lucius is like, look, that's enough of the bloodshed. We've known war and hardship many years. Let's just stop the killing. And they're all like, yeah, we agree. I don't want to fight anymore. I'm done. And then, like Rome is saved, it's back. Rome's taken back, from the people, all the whatever, these corrupt emperors and all this stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. And then, at the end, Lucius is just, he picks up the dirt like Russell Crowe, and he's all like, speak to me, father, yeah. And then the movie ends. We get the biggest hero of all in all the Gladiator movies, the crops. The wheat field, and that's the end of Gladiator. It was a fun movie. I quite enjoyed it. It was thrilling. Action. Was it great? Look, I mean, there are things I'm like, I had nitpicks. I mean, I'm pretty sure this opening painting sequence looked a little AI. Ridley looked a little AI. It could have been just a weird filter, but I don't know, something fishy about it. But other than that, I mean, like I said, we had rhinos impaling people, baboon fights, sharks. I mean, the freaking sharks alone. That was a dope scene. That's one of those scenes that years later, when I'm bored, I'm gonna look on YouTube like Gladiator 2 fight shark scene. I mean, they cooked with some things. I'm just saying, like in the beginning when I had the opening scene of Gladiator 2, it's like the middle word in Gladiator, like I think it was like the I in Gladiator split to like a 2, and that was kind of cool. They did that cinematic right there. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed Gladiator 2. It was a fun movie. It was an action-packed movie. Would it ever be like the magnum opus that it was the first Gladiator? I mean, The first grader had some nitpicks, but like I had fun. I didn't feel like I was sitting there for like just dragging on like some other long movies I watched this year. It was an action-packed movie with sharks eating people in the Coliseum. I still don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, but they did that, and it was freaking awesome. And at this point, the movies I've watched this year, I would say there's some solid movies I saw this year. I'm gonna say that, and I'm gonna look forward to ranking all of them in the year. But I don't know how they're gonna top the next movie I see. Sonic BB, juice out.